everyone, and welcome back. So doing another one of my top 10 lists. This one is for my top 10 favorite horror soundtrack albums. Now, this is something that I love. So I love music scores, and I love music scores of all kinds. So I've been, since I was a kid, I've always had soundtracks and stuff like that, and listened to them my whole life. And obviously, you know, being a big lover of horror films, obviously horror soundtracks are also like a big part of that. And even when I was a kid, I was getting horror soundtracks and everything. So kind of figured like this would actually also be a fun list to do. I think I might have done something similar to this a while ago, but that may have been more maybe not horror, but kind of general. I can't remember, but anyway, this one is definitely horror soundtracks. Now, to put this list together, I want to just kind of say real quick that in order to simplify the list, because obviously as I was putting ones together, you know, the list just became massively long. So I did two things just to kind of keep it a little with it, you know, 10, and also to keep it a little bit of variety. So I decided to not double up on a film composer. So otherwise, most of the list would probably be John Carpenter. I'll tell you that right now. So instead, I can only use one composer for each one. So that way, again, it just kind of gave a nice list of different kinds of soundtracks. And though this is a top 10, these aren't really in order. These are ones that, I wanted a countdown list. So I just figured, you know, so we'll go 10 to 1, but they're not really in any specific order. Maybe the top two, but for the most part, they're not really in order. And another thing I did do was to pick soundtracks that are not only my favorite, but also ones that I listen to all the time, you know, like throughout the year, you know, and just the most, like, so it was that also made it a lot easier. It wasn't just like, oh, I love the score to this, you know, this one film, and that was good. It's like, yeah, that's a long list, but this one is literally ones I listen to a ton. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So coming in at number 10 is Zombie, the Fabio Frizzi film, to the Lucio Fulci film, which is a score I absolutely love. Now, I will say that probably, in my opinion, I do think The Beyond is Frizzi's best score. But obviously, as I mentioned before, like, Zombie has always had a very special place to me because it was, you know, as a very, very young kid, Zombie was one of my introductions to Italian horror. So this score has always been there. And I remember at one point, I don't remember how old I was at the time, but I found like a compilation CD that had some Italian scores on it, and it had, one of them was Zombie, and I was like, oh, you know, now since then we've had some fantastic releases, but yeah, I absolutely love that score. I listen to it a lot. So yeah, number 10 is Zombie. And coming in at number 9 is Suspiria, the amazing score by Goblin. I mean, one of the most inventive scores I've ever heard of probably any film. It's just, I mean, it's out of this world, and it's like almost literally just because of the sounds that they created for that score. I mean, my God, what a totally unnerving score that fits so perfectly and yet is so unlike anything else. You know, it's not just like, oh, here's some, you know, low hums to create suspense. I mean, my God, what an incredible score. I remember when I was a kid, I was so excited when I finally got the release of the score, and I played the main theme for a friend of mine and stuff. And afterwards he was like, what? Like, keep your devil music to yourself. I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't share some of my favorite horror soundtracks. And coming in at number 7 is Christopher Young's score for Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2. I'm probably going to cheat here a little bit just because I just think his score is so haunting and just beautiful. You know, it's like at the same time. But I do want to add in Hellraiser 2 only because I believe the theme to Hellraiser 2 is absolutely incredible. Like, it's actually one of the most amazing themes I think I've heard, and it's just so powerful. And so yeah, I this is one, like, every time I watch Hellraiser, you know, and the moment the music kicks in, you know, during the opening credits, it's just like, oh, So yeah, and that's always one like I will always go back to and listen to like quite a bit. I mean, sometimes the entire score, but at the very least, the main theme for sure. And coming in at number 6 is The Fly, Howard Shore's score for David Cronenberg's The Fly, which I think is it's just well, I mean, all these are incredible scores, but that one it's a perfect match to the intensity of the film itself, with the fly and the transformation and all that, but also the kind of love story of it as well. And that, again, that is one that I've always gone back to. And actually, I do want to say real quick also with, I think, pretty much all these scores, as well as a ton of other ones, whenever I've sat down to write something, I always find music I can listen to that sort of fits the sort of feel of what it is I'm writing, so I can listen to it as I'm doing it. Either the whole thing, or I'll pick it, almost create my own soundtrack for like different scenes, have like different tracks from different movies and stuff. And yeah, so a lot of these, they do have that in common. I know The Fly has been one that I actually have gone to a few times for sure. And coming in at number 5 is Jerry Goldsmith's score to Poltergeist, which I think I've said before, Jerry Goldsmith is one of my all-time favorite composers, and so he's done a lot of horror films, so I was kind of going back and forth between a couple of them, but out of all of them, I think Poltergeist is by far the one I've listened to the most. And again, one that I do listen to, like, I'll have like a little bit of a gap where maybe I haven't listened to it in like several months, and then all of a sudden, like, I have the blue, I'll be like, I want to listen to Poltergeist, and as soon as I put it on, the music he composed for that film is stunning. It's so many different ways, because it has that amazing classical influence that you see with a lot of different composers, obviously, but it's so unique. Like, if you know Jerry Goldsmith's music, it has his signature in it. This was definitely an easy one to add to the list. So yeah, coming in at number 6, Poltergeist. And coming in at number 5 is this one. Was very easy to pick. It's one of the most iconic horror scores, especially the theme, probably ever done, and that is indeed John Williams' score to Jaws, which is, I mean, how perfect is that score? Like, every track, every piece of music written for that film, again, every time I listen to it, which is a lot, not just the main theme, but even just the other themes throughout the film, it's just like, it's about as close to perfection as in my opinion, as I could kind of get to, or at least a good example of. It's like all over the map. You got the horror aspects, you got sort of the adventure aspect as they're kind of chasing down the shark and everything, but then you also have kind of the more kind of like subtle, like, family themes and everything, especially the music during the scene where Brody and his son are kind of, the son's like mimicking kind of Brody's movements at the table, like the music that plays in that scene, compared to the rest of the movie. Like, again, it's perfect. It's just absolutely perfect. And actually, I do want to say that I actually love the score to all 4 Jaws films. I actually do listen to the sequel scores quite a bit, but out of all of them, I definitely listen to the first one the most. But actually, I really love the score to all four films. I mean, John Williams did the second one and stuff, but even the music to like 3 and 4, I really, really like. So anyway, moving on. And now we're down to the final 4, with number 4 being Friday the 13th by Henry Manfredini, which, again, another, like, I mean, good Lord, talk about creating that fantastic, very simple, theme that, I know for him, I know it is supposed to be, mama or whatever, but let's be honest, it literally sounds like so I'm always going to refer to it that way. But even just the rest of the score is absolutely just it's funny, because like for a slasher film, it really stands out quite a bit. And not just the first film, but even all the other ones that he did. I mean, look, I love the music to all the Friday 13th. I mean, technically I could say just the entire music of the franchise would be, on this list, because I do kind of jump around depending on my mood. But again, just kind of like with Jaws, like I would listen to the first one the most. And it's just something that, when he composed the score to that very first Friday the 13th, it's like, talk about just the perfect match, where I think he helped. I'm not taking anything away from Friday the 13th because I think it's amazing, but I think his score also helped elevate it. And moving on to number 3, and moving on to another franchise, is A Nightmare on Elm Street by Charles Bernstein. And this is another one where, again, right out of the gate, where soon the movie starts, and just that very haunting music, especially as he's putting the glove together, like it's just so ominous. And then obviously then you get into the now well-known theme that we all know now. It's just, again, it's incredible. And then that's another one where I could cheat and say I love the music to all the films, which I do. And I actually do like that they brought in different composers for each film. So each one has its own sort of uniqueness to it. But again, just like with the previous ones, out of all of them, I always go back to the first Nightmare on Elm Street. And again, one I listen to a ton. Now, as we get down to the final 2, I will say there's probably a good chance where maybe these 2 I would consider 2 of my all-time favorites. And probably the 2 I listen to the most, I would say. There's at least a good chance, throughout my life, since I was able to have the soundtrack to these, which actually luckily I was able to find them at a fairly young age. So actually, I grew up listening to these soundtracks all the time. So coming in at number 2 is Creepshow, which I'm sure probably shocks none of you, but I absolutely love the score by John Harrison. And it's one of my favorite films, and has been since I was a kid. So obviously that score is going to be burned into my brain, and I listen to it. I listen to it so much, I think it would probably shock some people as much as I listen to it. Now, sometimes seeing criticism because it is a synthesizer score, and some people are just like, it's kind of dated. I don't know, maybe not for me. I mean, to me, it's incredible. I absolutely love listening. Every single time I listen to it, it's just like, And it is also, like some of these other ones, I'll either listen to the whole thing or I'll just listen maybe to the main theme, like here and there or something. But Creepshow, I sit down and listen to Creepshow. I'm listening to the entire soundtrack. And I will say also, I do love the little extra bits of library music that is also in the film, which I am glad was included on the previous soundtrack release from a few years ago, La La Land Records, if I remember correctly. So it's great having like all the music on there. But even without the library music, again, John Harrison's score is just phenomenal. For me, it literally is one of my favorites. And coming in at number 1, which I'm sure will also not surprise anyone, and this is arguably also, in my opinion, one of the best horror soundtracks, scores ever done, and that is indeed Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. How just perfect of a score did he hit it out of the park with that film. And like, I still love the story where I remember, after he made the film, because he hadn't done the music yet, he showed the film to somebody at MGM. I think, they were trying to find a distributor. I think it was MGM at the time. He showed the film to her, but didn't have the score. And he noticed, like, she wasn't getting scared. Like, she wasn't really reacting to the film. And that made him double determined to really put up much more effort into the score, which he did. And he said, like, after the movie had come out, like, he ran into her again, and she was like, oh my God, like, I don't know what you did, but the film is, like, amazing. It's like, yeah, it's because of the score. Like, not that the film isn't fantastic, obviously it is, but once again, just like with some of these other ones, like, the score just takes it to a whole other level. Good Lord. Up there with, like, the Jaws theme, the Halloween theme is probably one of the most iconic horror film scores ever done. It's like, even if you've never seen Halloween, the theme, it. And again, just because it's Halloween does not mean I don't listen to it throughout the year, because indeed I do. And actually, I do want to give a special honorable mention to 2 other ones, which I debated, but I at least want to mention them. So they're not going to be on the top 10, but they're definitely on there, especially since they do actually share other composers. One of them is the score to Halloween 3. Now, I left it off because John Carpenter is obviously involved with that soundtrack. Now, it is Alan Howarth and John Carpenter. And actually, Alan Howarth did write the majority of the score. Like John Carpenter, I know, was involved with part of it. I think mainly the theme, the main theme for Halloween 3, but Alan Howarth pretty much actually did the rest of the score. So I kind of debated it, but it's like, nah, John Carpenter was involved. So I didn't, I wanted to play by my own rules. But yeah, that's another one. I listen to it all year round, which again, I'm sure surprises probably none of you. But so yeah, I wanted to give that one a special mention. And the other one is George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which has, again, just its own unique score because you have the actual composed music by Goblin, that's throughout the film. I know the Italian version, it's all Goblin music, but I'm talking about the U.S. version, which obviously has bits of the Goblin score throughout the film, and then also has all that amazing library music that George was able to pull and put it in. And for me, both of those elements just make the perfect complete score. And again, that's another one that I listen to all the time. And I will say, because originally we had 2 releases. It was obviously the Goblin music that actually has been around for a very, very long time. I mean, that I got a soundtrack release. I don't know if it was around the time the movie came out, but I think at least a couple of years after. And then at some point, we actually did finally get at least a release of some of the library music. So for a few years, I would bounce back and forth between those 2. But then we finally got in the Second Sight Dawn of the Dead limited edition version, which had the soundtrack discs included, which had the Goblin music and almost all of the library music. I think there were maybe 2 tracks that they could not get the rights for the release. So it's kind of a shame, but it's almost all there. And I can tell you right now, I listened to that version specifically a lot. And actually, I will say, as much as I do love the Goblin music, and I actually do tend to listen to the library music more with Dawn of the Dead. So, but anyway, I had to mention those 2. So yeah, those are my top 10 favorite horror film soundtracks with 2 honorable mentions. So let me know some of your favorite horror soundtracks. And I know some of you are also soundtrack collectors, but even if you're not, if you just have a favorite horror film score, let me know what they are. Would absolutely love to hear them, literally and figuratively. And I want to give a very special shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much. It is so appreciated. I really, really hope you're enjoying the exclusive content. So again, let me know your picks. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.